Hey, what's going on, everybody? I hope that you had a good holiday, and I hope that you had a good Christmas. And I just want to say happy holidays and Merry Christmas to everybody. I know this is after Christmas, and I've been getting things together. But before the new year drop, I wanted to drop something to kick off 2023. And what I really want to do is, in my opinion, things that I grew up, growing up in Southwest, growing up in the inner city, I think there are some angles, there are some things that are not talked about that these kids go through and are going through that some people don't, maybe they don't look at it from this angle, or maybe they just don't see it, but I do. And I just want the basis of me making content is about is wanting to go back and reach out to the kids. Eventually, I want to go talk to the high schools and talk to these kids about this time space. Life timeline moment. Looking at the timeline of 17 through 21, that's what I really want to stick the landing in that area for them to understand that that is one of the most pivotal times in a young man's life. That if he makes some solid decisions, he can have a solid future in his 30s, 40s, 50s, and 60s. But if you don't make solid decisions in this time space, you're gonna find yourself like on a seesaw. It's always up and down, or you're going in circles. Why do I keep going in circles? But if you really make a plan and a strategy and stick to it and don't veer from it based on success or what you're trying to do, like get you a career instead of a job, you'll find that life will be a little bit, you have a better chance at success. I'll say that. Second point is how important is this space in life? It is very important from a standpoint that when you're 17 to 21, most people are single with no kids. You don't have a lot of responsibilities. So this is the time to really figure out what you're good at, what's your skill set, build your education around your skill set, work on your communication, and develop that winning mindset, SECM. You can work on those things, those 4 things, and that will really increase your chances of success. How choices in this space will set up your future. Every choice, when you turn 17, 18, when you become an adult, this is one thing you got to figure out. It's not scary, it's not mean, it's every choice you make will have a consequence and it will have an impact on your future. And sometimes people are a little bit more lenient, or people don't want to say the realness of it. But what I would say is, to the young man that's listening or ever get a chance to watch this, please be smart with your decision making the best you can. There's so much information out there now that wasn't. When I went to high school, I know I'm giving my age away, but when I went to high school, Google really wasn't a thing like that. The internet was out there, but it wasn't as it was now. However, you have so many tools now. You have so much information that you can look up that it's a little, you can be a little bit more efficient even if you don't have the mentor, even if you don't have the things surrounding you that can help you be more successful. You can look those things up now. Let's go to the next slide. Life literacy content. Before you get to financial literacy, you have to know about life literacy. That's going to be one of our themes for next year. Life literacy content. LLC. Life literacy content. Remember that. Before you get to the money, you have to know how life works. Because if you don't understand how life works, when you get to the money, you will not manage it right. You'll blow it, and you'll buy things that don't make sense and depreciate in value. Nothing that appreciates. Life, literacy, content, common sense. Common sense sounds simple, but you'd be surprised. So, I want to advocate for the inner city youth because I grew up in the inner city. And this is what I want to ask people. What are your expectations for inner city youth? Are they realistic? So, here's my first question. How can we expect kids to be productive based on some of the conditions they are in outside of school? So what do I mean by that? Some kids, maybe a high percentage, like I said, I don't need analytics. I understand because I grew up in the inner city. And some of these people I went to school with, I knew. Some of these kids, not only, it's like a prism, right? There's a prism. There's single parent. There's two parents. And then it's like all the stuff in the middle, right? Single parents, co-parenting, divorced, co-parenting, or not even married at all, just co-parenting. Somebody had a kid and they just taking care of the kid together. And then you go from two parents to kind of get in that prism. You know, just because a kid has a two-parent home, that doesn't necessarily mean success for their kid. What do I mean by that? There are some kids that their parents are in the streets. What do I mean by that? If kid X has parent A and parent B, are they both in the streets? What do you expect that kid to be? There are some kids that can outthink that, but there are very few far in between. And there's a lot of reasons why we are in the situations now, because a lot of these kids are not taught. If you pull that trigger and you get caught, you could be looking at 25 or life at the worst, life. They're not taught that when you go in a courtroom, think about Tory Lanez, for instance, they don't care about what led up to it, or they don't care about what somebody said to you or what somebody did. What they're gonna look at is you went up to this person, pulled the trigger, did your deed, killed them or left them injured, paralyzed or something like that, and you have to pay for that consequence of pulling the trigger. Selling drugs. New guys that grew up around that, and that's what they end up doing. That's all they saw. That's all they know. Because there are some kids who have the uncle that's a doctor, and they uncle bring them in, or family member bring them in, and kind of show them the hospital ranks, and they kind of work and they kind of get a exposure. Well, guess what? In the city, it's the same thing. It's just in reverse. Somebody has a family member that's in the game selling, and he get exposed to it. He see that's easy money, can make so much a day. And he started doing it because he has that exposure. He had that gateway in. Happens a lot more than what you think. But what's not being told to the kid is that you get to a certain level in that game, you have to look over your shoulder. You got to worry about the police. You playing a cat and mouse game with the police. You playing cat and mouse game with people that want to rob you. They want to take your money that you made off doing that. Some of the stories the guys go through, a lot of them don't even really get out there like that. The only reason I knew, because I had a secondhand experience, knowledge of just being around. I used to work at this place, they call it the detail shop. If you know what it is, but a lot of guys come through there straight hustlers, and you should just sit back and just some guys I talk to, some guys they just come in and tell you crazy stories about what happened. But what I can tell you is, and this was when I was in high school, so had to be God, was able to see this from a point of view to actually get all the information in before you make the decision. Was able to get all that information. That's what made me not want to do it, because a lot of people was killed. They didn't make it. A lot of people went to jail for long periods of time. Because when you sell drugs, you get caught. It's like fed time almost. And if you get fed time, you got to do 80, 90% of that time. So you get long jail stretches, or you have to worry about somebody trying to rob you or catch you slipping somewhere and take your car or something like that. That happens too. So much stuff to think about. So this is what I want to say, that there's a lot of kids in these situations, more than what you think, a higher percentage than what you think. See, analytics don't live in Southwest. These just people running numbers based on other stuff. But living in Southwest, living in an inner city, any inner city, I bet you it's common around most inner cities. If you go to Ohio or, Indiana, or Iowa, I don't know, wherever inner city is, a lot of kids, those surroundings make a difference. It's kind of like a flower. If you plant a flower in good soil and that flower is watered, it flourishes, it grows. But if you plant a flower in bad soil, are you expecting that flower to grow? Or is that flower going to have a tough time trying to flourish because it's not in good soil? And that's pretty much what I'm trying to say about these kids. My first point is there are some cases where the school lunch is better than what can be afforded at home. There are situations like that. That the parents, single parent home, sometimes it could be two parent home. They not making in. They only got enough ends to pay the bills. So there's no extra luxury things. There is no extra money to buy this and that. You eating ramen noodles at home, or you eating like canned stuff, SpaghettiOs and stuff like that. Then you go to school, the school lunch may be better than that some days. Some of these kids are experiencing that. There are some cases where the school atmosphere is better than what they get at home. That's another one. The atmosphere is better. See, when kids go to school, they're at school for those 8 hours. But when they go home, that's a higher percentage of what's around them. School may be 10%, at home environment may be 90%. So if it's 90% street, or 90%, whatever, drug selling, or 90%, whatever, versus 10% school, what you think gonna win, What you think gonna win? Another one is engagement on skills after school is missing in our communities. What do I mean by that? There is not a lot of after school programs for these kids to go to. I'm not talking about basketball and football. Every kid is not an athlete. I wasn't an athlete, and I'm 6'5". And people always say, yeah, why you not playing basketball? I just went into it like that. I mean, when you live in the inner city, you don't even have the resources to really ball out, like to really play sports and stuff like that, because most kids in the inner city are thinking about, especially in a single parent home, you're thinking about, man, if we had the financial resources, we would be in a better situation. Most kids think about that. It's hard to think about playing basketball when you trying to think about how I need to help pay the bills. It's hard to go practice at the gym and do that stuff when you think about, man, we got to make sure these lights on. We got to make sure food's in the refrigerator. And some people are not going to understand that. And you probably not from the inner city. You probably never been through that. But I understand it. And it's a lot of kids that's going through that right now as we speak. How can a kid know what to choose when they are not exposed to things to see what they are good at? That goes to number 3 and number 4. No after school programs to show them skills, to show them trades, to show them career fields. A lot of these kids don't even know what a career is. They don't even know about different fields. Even when I was in high school, you just didn't know. You didn't know what a master electrician was. You just know electrician, but you didn't know it was levels to it. You didn't know that about information technology. You didn't know about those things. You didn't know that you can go to trade school and get paid to learn and then become a journeyman. You didn't know about those things in high school. It was mostly about college, go to college, get a job working in the office, but that's not for everybody. There are some people made for trades, they're good with their hands. There's some people made for the office jobs. There's some people made for information technology. But giving kids a chance to see all of those things while they're young and got the time to really sit down and think about those things, that's what we're trying to work up to. Get the capital together, and if anybody know how to write grants, let me know. If anybody know how to do that, please get with me. We want to find a building in Southwest. We want to have kids come to those after school, and we want to show kids life literacy content, how to find a career, but before you find a career, how life works. Because life, there's a certain mindset you got to have as a minority black male going into the career field. There's some things that you need to know. A lot of people don't even really talk about it. They try to just let you figure it out. But in my opinion, if you can learn about these things early as possible to understand how things go, I think it will lessen the frustration if you understand how the chess game is being played. And I'll leave it right there. Next slide. Improve yourself. Improve your thinking. Why do inner city kids know more about life stuff than education stuff? Why do they know about conflict more? Because when you live in the hood, that's what you see all the time. Conflict, beef. What do you see on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook? Conflict, beef. You rapping about it, but you don't understand the end result of that. And when do we learn resolution? It's like you always see beef, you always see conflict, but you rarely see people squash it and talk about it as men and squash it with no violence involved. You rarely see that. It's always conflict. I got to go do this. I got to get the revenge, or I got to go put in the work. And that's what these kids see. They don't see regular working people 9 to 5. When the parents go to work, the kids are at home. They see what's in the street, what's around them, what's in the surroundings. So another thing is guns and violence, right? They see this stuff, or they see it in the neighborhood. You see a lot of kids see people get shot, or they know somebody that got shot, or somebody that got killed, or somebody that got stabbed. A lot of times, instead of solving things, violence is used to solve problems in the streets. And they don't understand that when you go in the courtroom, the jury is not from the streets. They don't understand that how street code works, how street rules work. But why do kids know about street rules more than they know about education? It's because 90% of some of these kids are in the streets. There are some kids, I'm just in general situations, there are some kids that both of their parents are in the streets. Both of their parents could be in gangs. What do you expect from that kid at that point? If both of their parents are affiliated or both of their parents are hustlers, what do you expect out of their kid? But a lot of teachers are teaching these kids, though. A lot of teachers have to deal with these kids. And a lot of kids don't want to be in the education system because they feel like it's boring or it's not nothing that they can relate to. But most kids relate to that 90% that they're around when they're at home or their surroundings. From my perspective, from growing up, that's what most kids relate around. Most kids that grew up in the gang neighborhood, most of them, from what I've been around and grew up in, most kids that grew up in the gang neighborhood usually kind of pick up on that. Most kids that grew up around hustlers usually pick up on what hustlers do. Most kids that grew up in other stuff, they grow up in a home that's like educated and doctors and stuff like that, nurses, they usually pick up on that because that's what's around them 90%. If matter of fact, if you got anything in the comments, let me know what you think. I'm just telling you from what I see, from things I saw growing up. No analytics, I don't even need it because I'm telling you from what I saw going to McClellan, dudes I knew, and things that I saw kind of picked up on just in my head just growing up. So why do kids know more about material things, cars and rims? Because that's what they see. They see the dude with the car, the dude with the rims, getting all the girls, getting all the respect and the attention. So most kids want to do that too. I was in that category. I saw the same thing. I did that too. I had the Monte Carlo. I had was it 2000, 2001, I forgot what the year it was, Monte Carlo with 20s. I thought that was it. I mean, that was one of my highlights when I was in that. That was pretty cool. I loved it. But the thing is, as time go on, you start to realize that it's just material things. It's all vanity. And you realize it's really everything, all that stuff is just depreciates. That was literally 22 years ago. I could care less about it now. Don't even care about it now. I got a family now. But when I was single, I think I was 20? 19, 20? I thought that was it. I thought I was the man, but I was not the man. Just got caught up living in the hood. Most kids work a job to pay bills. This is the thing I was talking about, a career. Most kids don't think about a career. They just trying to find a job, work at Walmart. Now the whole trend is working at Amazon. And you work these jobs to pay bills, but what you don't realize is working a job and you're not working towards your career, that time is not increasing your chances of success working at a job because it's not giving you a skill set. It's actually making you kind of like an assembly line worker almost. You just a cog in the wheel. But if you try to move somewhere else, it's a little bit harder because all you know is that place where you worked, as far as working at retail places and stuff like that. So what I would tell a kid that's 17 to 21, think about a career field that you want to work in. If you want to work in IT, start working at help desk. That is building toward a career in IT. You go from help desk, you can either go networking, or you can go networking in systems like servers, computer servers, or you can go to programming. Work your way, and then you go from programming, you can go into management, or you can go to the executive level based on education and how good you are, working on that skill set, education, communication, and mindset. Working on those 4 things will get you there. What examples do they have about continuing education? A lot of kids don't have that example about continuing education. I'm going to say about 70%, maybe 80%, don't have an example about continuing education. You hear about college, but most people just say college in debt, but there are some classes to take because we don't know about everything. Most people want to be an entrepreneur, but there are so many things to learn about being an entrepreneur that you just don't know. And if you could take some classes and courses about entrepreneurship, about running a business, a lot of times you just go into it and you're learning as you go. But if you can learn before you even get into it and start spending money and devoting capital to it, it will be that much more efficient. That's what I'm trying to say. All right, understanding it's about generating money than just about money. Can you generate money? Learning how to generate money. That is the key. Generate money. Generate money. Because if you learn how to generate money, instead of just working 9 to 5 all the time, you learn how to generate money too. You could turn that into, that's what an entrepreneur is. You generate money. That's what you want to do, generate. Wash, rinse, repeat. Wash, rinse, repeat. Most businesses do the same thing over and over very well. You think about a McDonald's. What they do well, they make burgers. You go through the drive-thru. What do you want? Let me get a Big Mac. 2 all beef patties, sesame seed bun, special sauce, and pickles. They do it over and over and over. $10, $20, $30. Every time you ride by McDonald's now, they always crowded. But guess what? They do the same thing. Burgers, chicken sandwiches, fries, drinks. Now they do a little dessert stuff. Run through the drive, they do it over and over. I give you one even simpler. The donut shop. If you're from Southwest, you know Shipley's over there off Guy Springs. All they do is donuts. Glazed donuts, cinnamon rolls, bear claws, assorted, just donuts. They come in probably about 12 midnight, 1 in the morning, make the donuts. People come through. They are super packed. If you get there at a certain time, they are packed, and they do the same thing. Donuts, donuts, donuts. Every morning, donuts. I remember when they first started, they had regular cash registers. This is probably about 8, 10 years ago. I think I went there now. They got debit card machines and new cash registers. But they probably have made millions off making donuts. But see, we're not exposed to that kind of stuff. We still thinking about going to college and working for the state or working at the office or something like that. But that's true entrepreneurship. They had a small donut shop, a small space, probably paid for, and they probably leased to own it maybe. All they did, make donuts, sell donuts, and get the right staff. It's like a family-owned business probably. Most people are used to working a 9 to 5 job and may not understand how money is generated over and over. When you work a 9 to 5, you get comfortable. You don't think about that thing. You just think about, well, I'm making good money here. I'm good. But when you learn how to generate money, it gives you like a different kind of hunger. Yeah, you can still work the 9 to 5 to gain the capital to get to the point where you can generate your own money without having to work 9 to 5 and punch the clock all the time. That's where you want to get to. Some people, if you work a 9 to 5, you're comfortable with that, that's fine too. But if you can do both, what if you could do both? What if you could work 9 to 5 and generate money at the same time? How can knowledge empower you to do things and produce? Without knowledge, how can you take things to the next level? You have to have a form of knowledge, right? And you have to be willing to learn. That's life. Learning something new, keep learning. Don't stop learning. Learning something new. Even in the streets, you have to learn about the drug game. You have to learn about it. If you don't, they're going to take advantage of you. They're going to get over on you. I've never been in games. Even in games, you have to learn about the gang culture. You know, there's a hierarchy. Same way in your career, you got to learn about how the career works. You got to learn about the field, learn about the culture. And there's learning in everything. You just want to learn the right things, not the wrong things. So, with that being said, why are people hoarding information and selling it now in master classes? There are some people that has information that they could share. But it's called the game is to be sold, not to be told. Instead of just giving it to you, they'll sell it to you in the master class and you pay an absurd amount of money to join the class. And then he's just telling you to fix your credit and do all this other stuff you can learn on your own too, without having to go to a master class, unless you like the person. But a lot of times, what I experience is a lot of the times the older generation, when you work at some jobs, they don't really pass down information, either due to They feel like somebody's gonna take their job. That's a big thing. You know, he don't really help nobody. That's just like general talk. They don't really help nobody because they feel like they can lose their job if you could take their job. Some people just don't know how to teach. They don't know how to pass down information as well. But what I want to tell the youth is that's what I want to do. I want to fill that gap to give you information without having to charge you for like a master class. I just want to give you information about life, about understanding that nobody owes you anything. If you can understand that, it's one of the first golden rules about life. You're not entitled. Nobody owes you anything. Nobody owes you sympathy. The world doesn't stop for you. When you can understand that, things are kind of start to open up and make sense, but you have to be able to move in life without getting stuck in those circumstances where things are not going your way. Why selecting what to educate is important. Definitely what you select in your education is important because if you select the wrong thing, it may not be a field where you can make a living off of. It may not be a field that commands a nice salary that you can live off of. You have to do the education and the research on that and see the field that I'm going into, especially living in Little Rock, does it translate? Every state or every area, every city has different fields that's lucrative or different fields that's sought after. And you have to do the research on what's sought after in Little Rock if you plan to be in Little Rock. And here's another nugget for you. If you don't have life skills and you try to move to another state where it's just you, how can you survive and master being good in another state if you couldn't survive and master living in Little Rock? Like if you move to Atlanta where it's a bigger city, way more people, and you couldn't flourish in Little Rock, how hard do you think it's going to be to flourish in a bigger city like Atlanta where it's way more people, way more competition, way more people trying to get jobs and stuff like that? Another point, why being divided is a hindrance. One thing I'm learning as I get older is that a lot of things you cannot do on your own. And I'm a very independent person, but I'm finding out that could be such a hindrance because when you see most of the people that are millionaires, billionaires, or people that just run the business, they have a team. You got to have a team. And we have to embrace our people that are in these positions that are in high-level executive positions and let them give us information. A lot of times, we snarl your nose up at people that are in executive positions that's our color, but you don't realize what they had to do to get there. You don't realize they probably had to go through the jungle and through the mud to get to that position. And then sometimes they are underpaid. They're not paid like their counterparts. So we have to start thinking about being on the same team. Everybody can't learn. One person can't learn everything. Guess what? If one person learn how to excavate land, one person learn about real estate, one person learn about plumbing, one person learn about electrical, guess what? That team of people can build subdivisions. Building a house over and over. Every stage is covered by somebody on that team. Wash, rinse, repeat. Build foundation. Frame house. Sheathe house in. Electrical, plumbing, siding. Now you got a team. You can build subdivisions, no problem. But when you're divided, you have to find contractors that can be reliable. But if you have a team, you can have all of that right there within in-house. But we have to, as a people, as a culture, come together and not be so divided because it's crazy. Like, what hood you from? What area you from? You from Little Rock, you from North Little Rock, you from here, you from there. Then you go from Little Rock, where you from in Little Rock? Oh, you from the South End. Oh, you from John Burrow. Oh, you from Southwest. Oh, you from the East End. Oh, so many ways that we divide ourselves from each other. So many ways. But when do we come to a point where we can come together and put aside the personal differences and personal feuds and where you're from to do something greater and reach back to our youth? And this is my conclusion. Outthink your circumstances and make solid decisions. That's what you have to do. If you live in the inner city and your surroundings are not the greatest, you got that 90% of chaos and craziness, you have to outthink your circumstances and make solid decisions. Now, it sounds easy. I understand. It does sound, people like it sound easy for you, but because when you do that, outthink your circumstances and make solid decisions, it's going to come with ridicule. It's going to come with people looking at you crazy or people not understanding. But what I would tell you is, if you outthink your circumstances, make solid decisions, pick a career, you will start progressing. The people who are hating on you will still be right there, and you're steady moving. Next 5 or 10 years, you probably won't even be in that area no more, or you'll be in a better situation or circumstance. You have to put yourself in a situation where you can succeed, and nobody owes you that. You have to do that. Nobody owes you anything. When you look at me, you're looking at a guy that overcame the statistic of not having a dad in his life. My dad died when I was 12, 13 in 6th grade. And I had to overcome a lot of things. So when people say, this and that, you can do it. You're looking at a person who done it. Am I in the situation, am I perfect yet? No, I'm not. But I'm in a better situation that I could have been in. I could have been in a way worse situation. Evaluate yourself year to year. We're at the end of the year. 2023, what is it going to be? 2023, instead of making resolution, make goals. What's your goals? Like a top 3 or top 5. What's your goal? What do you want to be next year? And what are some of the things you did this year that you're like, I'm not going to carry this over? There was just some bad habits or whatever. I'm not going to carry that over to 2023. Evaluate yourself. Don't let somebody evaluate you. Mike, evaluate Mike. I need to be better at this. I need to work more on this. I need to do this. How can you increase value and skills? Think about that while you're evaluating yourself. What can I do in 2023 to increase my value and increase my skills? If I'm making $40,000, what can I do to increase to get to 50, 55,000? If I'm making 55,000, what can I do to increase my skills to get in the 70s, 80s, 90s? What can I do to increase that? What do I need to educate myself on? What do I need to do? You got to ask yourself these things. Sometimes it takes sitting down, writing it down, thinking about it, doing some research on Google, YouTube, all of that. What is stopping you from attempting to move to the next level? A lot of times, that you can be your own worst enemy. What's stopping you from going to the next level? I've been there. I had to come out of that. You think that it takes a lot of time, and it does, but the investment is worth it. Right now, I'm a husband, father of 2, working full-time, going to school full-time, along with other stuff that I do, even making content. Like me and my boy Jay, podcast, Thinking Game podcast. We'll be recording that sometime this week. And I'm totally sorry about the last one because the audio, we recorded in a place where they had a food court and they had their filtration system and it just messed up everything. But we're going to do better next time. But what I'm saying is, don't allow yourself to find a reason not to do something. Find a reason to do something. Do something, not nothing. I got to make a t-shirt out of that. Do something, not nothing. Don't allow yourself to overthink and paralyze you in thinking that you don't do nothing at all. Fine, even if it takes little incremental steps, it's better than doing nothing. I promise you that's better than doing nothing. My last thought, and I'm gonna close. Life is all about improvements. Life is all about improvements. Nobody's perfect. We can all use improvement. Ask yourself, what can I improve on in 2023? What do I need to improve on? Maybe it's a little bit of an adjustment. Maybe it's a lot of adjustment. Maybe it's in the middle. What adjustments can I make to improve? What adjustments can I make to improve? Ask yourself these things. Let me know in the comments what you think about this. Let me know. But this is Mike. I'm signing out. Thanks for watching. There's more to come in 2023. What is it going to be for 2023? I'm out.